Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And before we get started, I want to say thank you to one of my sponsors. That would be Manscaped. Manscaped, of course, you can buy any of those different things that you need, whether it be like lotions, whatever you need. You can go to manscaped.com and you can use my code 20% off at Manscaped using the promo code AFC South. Manscaped.com, the promo code AFC South. Just wanted to kind of get that in for everyone there. Of course, I want to introduce my guest for this episode. He probably doesn't even need an introduction because everyone knows who he is. He is one, but to me, he is a journalistic GOAT to me. And that would be Mr. D. Orlando Ledbetter. What's going on?
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on the show. I was writing down that discount there. I'm going to support your sponsors.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Now, on this episode, we're going to get into the Atlanta Falcons coming to Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans. Of course, they will be wearing the Love Your Blue uniforms. And, of course, it's going to be a game that's going to have a lot of emotion just because there are going to be a lot of former Titans and Oilers in the house. But there's going to be one player that's not going to be there. And I'm going to use him for my Get Off Your Chest segment for this episode. Kevin Byard this week was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, he was traded for safety Terrell Edmonds. He's traded for a 2024 fifth and sixth round pick as well. And it hit a lot of people tough that were Titans fans. Now, it didn't hit them tough because they're losing a great player. It hit them tough because they're losing a great man and a great community guy. Now, of course, we can talk about the stats, 27 interceptions. We can talk about two-time All-Pro first team. We can talk about, one of two guys, 600 tackles and 20 interceptions. The other guy's Jordan Poyer that plays for the Buffalo Bills. But what I want to talk about is a guy that was actually genuinely a nice person. Genuinely a person that would speak to you whenever he had a chance. Give you a prime example. I'm going out at camp. He probably doesn't know me from anybody. First time I'm out there. And I go up to him and ask him, like, yeah, sure. And, without hesitation. So we had a whole conversation. And at that point, we were both doing one of the same things, which is intermittent fasting. So we had a whole conversation about intermittent fasting as well as talked about football and things like that, and him being a leader and the young secondary and all those different things. And I can greatly appreciate it because every time I saw him, he remembered who I was, shook my hand, and we had a conversation. And that's not to be forgotten. And, he was definitely a person of the community. He was definitely a lot of people's favorite Titan, like his nickname, the Mayor, because he came from MTSU to play for the Titans. Of course, before that, he wasn't, of course, in Nashville or Tennessee area. But anyway, just wanted to kind of, I guess give him his flowers and say thank you for all the great memories here in Nashville. Thank you for being who you were, and thank you for being just a stand-up guy in the community and on the field. I mean, Orlando Ledbetter, I know you don't really know, I guess Kevin Byard like that.
Yeah, yes,
but,
I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do. Kevin's from Atlanta. Went to Decatur High. Played at I went to Martin Luther King High, Decatur. I met him at the Senior Bowl. So I've been following, rolling with Kevin since then. I thought the Falcons were going to draft him. And whenever, he played the Falcons or, had something in town, I made sure to get out and support Kevin's functions. And, was always would interview him whenever the teams would play. So, yeah, he was all of that as a young man coming out of college. And so it was great to watch him matriculate through Nashville and through the NFL and grow into an all-pro player who's going to get a chance now to, win he was on the number one seeded Titans team that had a chance to win the Super Bowl, but he's on a Philly team now that's going to have another chance to win the Super Bowl. He's won the games, great guys. And so I didn't know him as close as you, obviously, Mike. But, yeah, he was I went back a long ways with him to met him at the Senior Bowl, introduced myself, kind of like you. We probably we stuck to football because that was the setting. But over the years, and shout out to the Titans PR staff for always getting me Kevin when I asked for him, and he's always accommodating. Great guy, good football player. It sounds like he grew into a fine young man, and did a lot of great work in the community.
Definitely. He's going to be missed here, like in the comment section in the toward the AFC South inbox. Corey Jackson, class personified. That definitely is Kevin Byard. But moving on, we gotta kind of move on. We can't spend the whole show talking about Kevin Byard, even though it would be a nice one. But we do have to talk about the team that Byard's former team is going to be playing. That would be the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the Atlanta Falcons, before we get into their season and how that's going so far, I got to talk about this game this past weekend. I mean, it was a grueling game. 16-13, Young Ho Koo with the game-winning field goal. I mean, that's some of the best names in football. I can't even front. That's one of the best names in football. But with the game-winning kick, I mean, it was, to me, watching the game, it was a game of mistakes and overcoming those mistakes, and mainly one guy that was making a lot of mistakes in the game, in my opinion, watching it, was Desmond Ridder. I mean, Desmond Ridder, you had basically big play, Drake London all the way down to the goal line. Next play, fumbles the snap, Tampa Bay gets the ball back. Another play, he's taking the ball into the end zone. I don't know if he relaxes or what happens. Somebody knocks the ball off of him. It goes out the back of the end zone or the side of the end zone and ends up being a touchback. But he did drive them down the field to win the game with the field goal. What can you just say about Ridder in that game?
Yeah, a bunch of first-time starter mistakes since he's not a rookie anymore. Got to take care of the football. He's had 8 turnovers in the last 4 games, so football's been a problem for him. Didn't have any in the first 4 games, so that's why they're going to roll with him. It's, young quarterbacks, struggle. Matt Ryan, we saw him struggle as a rookie back in 2008. Michael Vick struggled. He didn't even play as a rookie, only started 2 games. Then when he got on the field his second year in 2002, he was only 5-4-1 in his first 10 games too. So, when you have a young quarterback, you got to live with the mistakes and somehow try to pull out a win. They were able to do that in Tampa, but you can't do that on a regular basis. It's pretty simple. He just has to cut down his turnovers, take care of the ball.
Gotcha. Now, I will say one side of this team for the Atlanta Falcons did play some good football, and that would be the defense. Now, I would say they did put a lot of money into this defense, bringing a lot of people in. What can you say of their performance, minus the touchdown from Mike Evans? I mean, they only gave up, 6 points? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they played solid football.
Yeah, this is a top 10 defense. They spent over $130 million. All starts up front with the tackles, Grady Jarrett and David Ayumata, who came over from the Saints. With them able to get a push, then they can play off the edges with Calais Campbell. And then you got a host of guys, Bud Dupree, Arnold Ebiketie, Lorenzo Carter, so they can come in droves. Got a couple backup tackles in Laquel London, former XFL player, and Taquan Graham. And they're getting pretty good linebacker play from Caden Ellis and Nate Landman, who was an undrafted rookie last year out of Colorado. So, he's a big Coach Prime fan right now, by the way. So that front seven is doing a really good job of shutting down the run, and the back end's doing a pretty good job of covering. Did have a lot of defensive holding calls, not pass interference. AJ Terrell had 3, Okuda had 1, D. Alford, the nickelback, had the only pass interference. So they're playing physical, and the refs are gonna call it. But it didn't hurt them against Tampa. They wanted to go and knock those big receivers around, thinking they'll try to do the same against the Titans. Although, it'll be a run-first game, got to stop Derrick and Spears. But the defense is performing admirably here in the first half of the season.
Yes, and before we kind of move on to talking about the Falcons in terms of, their season, I got to ask about this Bijan Robinson situation. Now, of course, they were saying he wasn't feeling well and things like that. Now the NFL is investigating because he was standing on the sideline the entire game. I mean, have you ever been around something that kind of sounds a little interesting like this? Or can you give us more insight?
Yeah, I was, I hope. Your fans will know this person. It's Reggie White when he played for the Packers. Back then you just walked in the training room and got the injury report. And the old school coaches, Dan Reeves or Lovie Smith, they come to the podium. They just give you the injury report because the league's got rules about reporting on the injuries. And some coaches have elected to play fast and loose with the injury reporting rules. And as soon as they found out Bijan was sick, they had a duty to tell the NFL that he was sick. Now they're going to try to say that they didn't know he was sick until the start of the game, and that might absolve them of needing to report the injury. But the decrease in play suggests that he had been playing between 61 and 81% of the snaps. He only played 17% of the snaps, and that's what caught the league's attention, that they knew something more than they're letting on to. So there'll be an investigations, a little hard, I think, but they want to know. They want to know when they knew he was sick and why they didn't tell the league and why they didn't put him on the injury report according to the injury reporting rules. Now, Reggie would be on the injury report, and we used to just walk in the trainer's room and get the injury report from Pepper Burrs, and he'd tell us, oh, yeah, Seth Joyner's got a knee. He's probably out 2 to 3 weeks. That's the end. You go report it, hey, Seth Joyner's out 2 to 3 weeks. Now the teams think that, hey, if Tampa Bay knows Bijan's sick, they can start getting ready for Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson, so they can turn it into a competitive advantage thing. So that's what that's what the league is upset about, is that they think the Falcons might have been playing fast and loose with the injury reporting rules. And it's not unlike the old days where, Reggie White would be on the injury report, and his hamstring would be hurting or his back was hurting. But come Sunday, look, Reggie would be healed by God himself. He would tell us after the game that God called him and told him to play. And so I was around Reggie White getting healed on a regular basis. And now we got this here injury reporting where guys get sick and they don't report it. They used to report Reggie White's injuries, but he would get healed on game day by the power of God.
There you go. I'm pretty sure he talked about that in the pulpit too. But yeah, we're gonna get into the Atlanta Falcons and talk about their season so far. But before we do that, I want to take a quick commercial break on Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on Touring the AFC South. And when we left off, we were talking about the Falcons season. We're getting ready to get into the Falcons season, I should say. Now, I will say the game in Tampa Bay was kind of a little bit of a microcosm of the Falcons in a sense this year, because you have some mistakes, you overcome them or you don't, and it's kind of a little bit of a roller coaster sometimes. Now, like we mentioned, Ritter, it's really his first year being the starter. So what are your thoughts on him just in general so far as the starter for the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, I've seen progress, Mike. From the beginning, it's pretty clear they were going to throw a bunch of quick game at people, short, safe passes, Bijan in the flats, short stuff, and run the ball. And so, they got to Detroit. That worked. They beat Carolina and Green Bay doing that. They go up to Detroit. Detroit walks the whole defense up to the line and shuts the run down. Okay, and they dare Ritter to throw the ball. So, that turned out ugly. They lost 20-6. And so everybody had a formula now. It's like, okay, well, we don't even have to we don't even have to worry about the pass. Yeah, he's got Kyle Pitts and Drake London, but he can't get him the ball. So, Jacksonville did it. Washington did it. Everybody just started walking 9 people up. And the Falcons, eventually had to start throwing it down the field. So against Washington, he threw for 300 yards, and he threw for 300 in the Houston game. Well, he threw 300 against Houston and won. Threw for 300 against Washington and should have won, but he had the 3 picks in that game. And then last week he threw for 250, and the running game worked because teams had to back off. So it's been development of Ritter in the passing attack, but the 8 turnovers in 4 games is way too much.
Based off of what he's done so far, what are your thoughts on, is he going to be the guy or not? Or are you kind of not ready to kind of say one way or the other at this point?
Oh no, if he can continue, he's learning how to read defenses. And his thing is, he wasn't very accurate at Cincinnati. That's why he lasted to the 3rd round. And so that's why they went and got big receivers. So he doesn't have to be Matt Ryan precise. He's got to just get the ball close. I mean, Bijan's caught passes behind his back. Kyle Pitts on the big 39-yarder coming across the middle. He had to reach back and get it. So he doesn't have to be Joe Montana. Get it close. If you can put it right on him, fine. If you can lead him, fine. But you're seeing a development that you can see where he can land that job of being the quarterback of the future.
Okay.
Excuse me.
All right. So, like you mentioned, the defense has been good. Did you expect them to be this good this early?
No, I did not. But on paper, it looked like a pretty good unit, and they needed some young guys to come along. Troy Anderson, Arnold Abacady, and Richie Grant. Richie Grant's in his 3rd year at safety. They paid money for Jesse Bates, so you knew he could play. A.J. Terrell was good. All they had was A.J. Terrell and Grady Jarrett. So they get Jeff Okunda from the Lions, and they got to save him because he 3rd overall pick in the draft, who hadn't done anything in Detroit and stayed hurt. So, they got talented players, but blending them together into a unit this fast has been surprising.
And, like you mentioned, Jesse Bates, you mentioned him being there. There were some thoughts about him one way or the other. Did you expect him to come in and have the impact he was going to have?
Yeah, because I learned a long time ago when Coach Dungy was coaching with the Colts. They were giving up all these yards. I think it was like 05. They're giving up, hundreds of yards, 200 yards a game. And he said, wait till Bob Sanders gets back. And Bob Sanders was, hard-hitting safety. And he was like, Bob Sanders erases all our mistakes. So, if you get past the linebacker, Sanders would lay you out. So all of a sudden, nobody's, running a whole lot because he was the eraser. He was erasing a lot of those mistakes. And Jesse Bates doesn't hit like Bob Sanders, but he's always in position. He's got a nose for the ball. He can read what the quarterback and the offense wants to do. So, really have a player back there, a former all-pro pick with the Bengals, really solidifies your defense. That means there's no big plays getting out, other than when AJ got beat on the 40-yard double move there. But other than that, they're keeping the ball in front of him and trying to get after the passer because you got a big-time safety back there.
Right. And I just want to get into it. Like you mentioned, Kyle Pitts and Drake London. You got Kyle Pitts, 25 receptions, 298 yards, 1 touchdown so far this year. You got Drake London, 32 receptions, 383 yards, 2 touchdowns this season. Not exactly what everyone expected. So do you kind of think that it's more Ritter not getting them the ball, or is it more the offense needing to be a little bit more creative to get them the ball in space or just opportunities?
No, I think it's Ritter learning how to read defenses because, that changes where the ball goes. And their teams are designed, they're sitting on those quick passes. So now, he's got to go on to the next read, and he's learned how to do that. And also pass protection was an issue early on. They did a good job in Tampa Bay. They did a good job against Washington and Houston in the last 3 games. They couldn't block Detroit, so it wasn't nothing he could do. Can't throw it to Kyle Pitts if you land on your butt, right? And so that's what happened up there. So and they got blocked. They got blocked this Titans front this week. But I think you're seeing a young quarterback be more aware and learn how to read defenses and get his players the ball. Also with Kyle, he was hurt. He was coming back from a knee. They kind of eased him into things, but over the last 3 games, he's been more himself in the offense. That was a big 39-yard. They got the ball with 45 seconds left. They got to get down the field, right? And so they find Kyle over the middle, and he breaks a move and gets up the field for 39 yards and gets him in the field goal range, to win the game last week. So that's what they drafted him number 4 overall for, was to make big plays like that. And, you can see that coming along. They said they wanted to have the Twin Towers. That wanted to be Pitts and London as the Twin Towers, but it hadn't worked because they never played together much. Kyle got hurt in the 11th game last year, and then Drake came on and had a good rookie year. Then, they didn't get to work together over the offseason because Kyle's rehabbing a knee. They eased him into training camp and then just let him kind of ease into the season. So, that's one of their potential big upsides here going into the second half of the season will be, the further development of that passing attack through Kyle Pitts and Drake London.
It's going to be interesting. I call them, I thought they were putting together a team that was getting ready to have a dunk contest, to be honest.
They
got them, you got Mac Hollins out there too. So you got Jonnu Smith. And Jonnu Smith, not a small gentleman either, but compared to them, he is. So it just, you got all those guys. I'm like, man, is it a halftime dunk show happening or is it a football game? But
Drake London played at USC, so he's got some dunks on tape. He's out there on YouTube dunking for the Trojans.
Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out. But let's get into the actual game of this week. That would be the Tennessee Titans and the Atlanta Falcons. Now, like you mentioned previously, the Atlanta Falcons offensive line has to take on the Titans defensive front. Now, one of the guys they're definitely going to have to pay a lot of attention to is Jeffrey Simmons. Now, every game, Jeffrey Simmons is getting double teamed. Now, it's just a matter of time if the other guys can make some things happen. Does it concern you if you have to pay too much attention to Jeffrey Simmons and the other guys get loose?
Yeah, definitely got to double team him. He's the game wrecker. He's the definition of a game wrecker in the NFL. And as long as he's, playing out there, you better have somebody on him and maybe a third. If he gets past his double team, you might even still have to have a back or tight end there for him. So, you know where he is. So if you're gonna roll out, you roll the other way. And what you do with them big guys, man, is you roll out and stretch the run the outside zone outside to the numbers. You try to get them rolling and moving because they'll get tired. That's what Kyle Shanahan taught us. We used to have a film session with him when he was the offensive coordinator here in Atlanta. The outside zone, he's like, yeah, he's running, he's coming. Okay, look in the third quarter, he's not coming anymore. You run them big boys, you can't run right at them, so you make them chase everything. And so I'm sure Arthur Smith knows how to do that. And I'm sure he used to do it with Derrick Henry. And I'm sure he's going to try to do it with maybe, Bijan's healthy with Bijan and Tyler Algier and Cordarrelle Patterson. But, yeah, definitely the center and the guard. You got a rookie left guard. So I'm sure he'll get some help with Jeffrey Simmons.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because the more you help on Jeffrey Simmons, you got Danico Autry right beside him. You got Arden Key. You also have Harold Landry, who in 2021 led them in sacks. Mm-hmm. So you got a lot of firepower out there, and that's not even mentioning Rashad Weaver potentially coming off the bench and making some things happen too. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, Arden's a kid from Atlanta, too. Worked with Big Chuck Smith, who's now with the Ravens. So, they know he's bounced around the league, but nobody's questioning that he has some pass rush ability. And certainly Harold Landry is a beast. And, the guy, whoever's on Caleb McGarry, whoever's on the right tackle, he struggles against elite speed. So that could be a problem.
Gotcha. Now, one thing that has been a problem for the Tennessee Titans is defending the pass. Now, with Kevin Byard gone, of course, it's going to make it a little tougher. But they have given up a lot of big pass plays this year. And being that the Atlanta Falcons have Kyle Pitts, they have Jonnu Smith, former Tennessee Titan, they have Matt Collins, they have Drake London as well. You just throw any receivers, they've got them. Just given that plethora of wide receivers and the issues that the Titans have had, do you expect Arthur Smith to kind of try to test them with Ritter, maybe some intermediate passes? Because I don't think they'll necessarily try them deep as much just because I don't know if Ritter's arm is going to be able to get it there. But as far as the intermediate, things like that, do you expect them to test the Tennessee Titans there this game?
Yeah, I do. And I expect them to throw it deep too. Mike, they also have Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson from the Rams. They picked him up in a trade 2 weeks ago, and they tried to hit him deep in the Washington game, and Ritter overthrew him. It was 62 yards in the air. So people questioning his arm strength. They're letting y'all know that, hey, he can get it out there. And he hit one to Scotty Miller against Tampa Bay for 45 yards. So he's got to throw it deep because, teams are going to put 8 and 9 up in the box to stop the run. So, when you see Scotty Miller in the game, they're probably going deep or jet sweep. Van Jefferson played about 30 snaps, so he can get up the field too. And they like to run Kyle Pitts up the sidelines on some 9 routes too. So they got to throw it deep just because teams pack it in. And if the Titans try to pack it in, then, yeah, they're inviting them to throw deep.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch that. Now, flipping over to the offensive side of the ball, and of course, there's a gentleman called Derrick Henry. And he is a very physical runner. Of course, you have Grady Jarrett and all the beef up front, Calais Campbell as well. But how big of a challenge does it present just not only with Derrick Henry, but with the different ways they're kind of utilizing them now? They're kind of putting 2 different backs back there, they're putting him and Tajay Spears at the same time at times back there. And what also is a different caveat to this game is that Ryan Tannehill may not play. So you may see Will Levis. Mike Vrabel said that you may see Malik Willis and Will Levis actually playing quarterback in this game. So with all that going on, how much extra attention do you think is going to be paid to that running game and stopping that running game from the Falcons?
I think a lot. I think that's going to be a major emphasis because they got to travel by ground there. Derek and Spears, they're coming. King Henry, got to get up for that. He's one of the greats of all time. And, Malik with those two, then he's dangerous on some RPOs and stuff too. That's all he wanted to do really. He's a good fine running quarterback. We know him. Played at Westlake High with A.J. Terrell, transferred to Roswell High here in Atlanta, and then, went to Auburn. He started at Auburn. Things weren't going so well. He hooked up with Hugh Freeze at Liberty. So, the Falcons have a pretty good book on him. So him coupled with the running backs, that's a running threat, run first type of operation. I know he was 4 for 5 against the Ravens, but he got sacked 4 times. So he's not reading the defense yet. Will Levis playing the pro offense up in Kentucky. Start at Penn State, just hasn't done it yet. So not a lot of passing threats there. So got to stop the run and be concerned about Will Levis as a passer. He had a better year his junior year at Kentucky than the last year. So might want to go look at some of that tape and some of the route concepts they ran at Kentucky. I'm sure that's what they've been working on with the Titans.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see the balance that they use with one or the other in this game because, honestly, I think Malik maybe was holding on the ball just a little bit too long sometimes. Yeah. And other times there was guys, and other times he got it out when he needed to. So that kind of, to me, shows that he probably just needs more live reps in the game to get more opportunity to understand it, to me. But, we'll see what happens, and we'll see what the Titans have in store because, honestly, they like to play it close to the vest. That's what they do, and that's how they operate. So, another guy I do want to talk about, though, as well is – got to talk about DeAndre Hopkins. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, he has been basically the main threat in the passing game because, Traylon Burks hasn't been healthy. You have other guys that haven't been healthy either. And just he's been the most consistent guy. In this game, I wonder it's him versus A.J. Terrell. So are they going to even shade anything his way, or are they just going to let A.J. Terrell just take him and then the rest do what they do?
No. That's a Clemson on Clemson battle there. And
right.
They'll let they'll let AJ handle it for the most part, but that's the beauty of Jesse Bates. Against Tampa Bay, Mike Evans got open early. Then they like, okay, we Jesse's over the top now. We can't do that again. So if Hopkins gets loose, don't expect him to stay loose for long because then they'll just bracket Jesse on him and make the other guys beat him.
Right. That'll be an interesting thing right there. Now, of course, it's going to be an interesting matchup on Sunday because it's kind of teams that want to do the same thing, run the football, play physical defense. It's just going to be which team is going to be able to do it better and which team is not going to turn the football over. Mm-hmm. So, that is the end of kind of the breakdown of the game. But, of course, in the end of every show, I have a game. I have 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. It could be on sports, could be on music, could be on whatever. Mr. D. Orlando Ledbetter, are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. First one up. I know that, Olympic Park, everybody goes out there for the concerts and things like that too, Piedmont Park too. But I have to ask, you have one group for a concert, Earth, Wind, and Fire or Maze featuring Frankie Beverly. Which one are you going with?
Yeah, I'm Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm going to go with the Earth, Wind, and Fire crew. They put on a great show. I saw them as a teenager, and they did some magical stuff with Doug Henning. Just been a big fan of the Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay. All right. Now, for everyone that doesn't know, you have the Bowtie Chronicles that you do as well. It's a podcast. So I'm going to ask you, podcasting or interviewing people, which one do you like most?
Interviewing people, I like that most, and talking about the game and seeing their reactions in person.
All right, all right. Now, of course, there are some hated rivals for the Falcons. That would be the Panthers and the Saints. Now, which one would you say is the worst in terms of the hated rivals?
Oh, it's the Saints, no problem. Yeah, both of the teams came in at the same time, 66, and they were so bad for the longest. And then they both kind of got good at the same time. And, the Saints fans let the Falcons fans know that they got a Super Bowl trophy and that the Falcons, whenever they play there, they get a bunch of 28-3 jokes on the scoreboard and everywhere when the Saints play the Falcons. It's awesome.
Oh man, it sounds like fun. It sounds like fun. Now, we did talk about Desmond Ridder a lot in this episode. Now, right now he has 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for the season. Does he reach 17 touchdowns for this season?
Yeah, I think so. 6 on 6 is not what you want. You want that ratio to be 2-to-1. But they're getting in the red zone, so that's a plus. They're passing the ball now, 250 yards at least in the last 3 games. So, once you do it one time, then, the coach is going to ask you to keep doing it. So they certainly have the weapons. They don't play a really tough schedule here. At some point, it's going to click for them. And if it doesn't, then you're going to turn to the veteran Tyler Heineke. But I'm suspecting that he's made a lot of strides here in these first 7 games. I think he has learned from his mistakes early in the season. I expect to see some good quality quarterback play here at some point without the turnovers.
Now, the last question is, I know you're a fashionable person. So, I'm going to ask you a little bit of a fashion question. And I've kind of been paying attention and peeping game a little bit.
Okay.
Bow ties or hats? Which one do you like the most?
Well, hold on one second. I love a nice hat, and I got one on today. So but I do like the bow ties too. So that's a close second, and then I match them together too sometimes. So hats then bow ties, real close second there.
All right. That's 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. You are off the hot seat, and we've reached the end of the show. But I want to thank you for coming on. I mean, you are truly one of the journalistic goats. I mean, I know you probably don't like to hear that, but I'm like, hey, you are to me. And I want to just thank you for coming on. And can you let everyone know where they can find your podcast and also where they can find any of the work that you're doing?
Yes, well, thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate the respect, and I always try to help out the young journalists in their endeavors. So appreciate you reaching out and having me on your podcast here. You can find me at ajc.com. My Twitter's at DOrlandoAJC. And the Bowtie Chronicles podcast drops every Wednesday and Monday. We wrap up the games on Monday, and then we preview on Wednesday. And this week I had a special guest was my daughter, Danielle Ledbetter, who's in Nashville at WSMV, Channel 4. She's a weekend anchor, so y'all can give her a watch over there. And looking forward to coming to Nashville to see her and also to see Mike in the press box when the Falcons play the Titans on Sunday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's been a minute. I don't think I've seen you since the Atlanta Super Bowl. It has been a minute.
Been a minute, Mike. Looking forward to it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And everyone watching, you can watching or listening, you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82. You can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE, _general_MP. And of course, you can find Touring the AFC South on YouTube. You can find on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find Touring the AFC South. All again for tuning in, and we're out. Peace.